The great chamber of the Galactic Council stretched for nearly a kilometer in every direction. Thousands of species sat in their designated sections, some breathing oxygen, others requiring different atmospheres in sealed environments. At the center of it all stood Ambassador Chen Wei, a human woman who looked impossibly small against the massive alien delegates surrounding her. The Vraxian Grand Admiral Thexnor loomed above her position. His species had ruled the Council for 8,000 years. His forearms crossed over his armored chest as he spoke, his voice carrying through translation devices to every corner of the chamber. The human species will reduce their military fleet by 80% within one solar cycle, Thexnor announced. His voice carried the weight of absolute authority. All human colonies beyond their home system will be surrendered to Council administration. Earth will accept permanent military observers to ensure compliance with galactic law. Chen stood perfectly still. She had expected this. Humanity had known this moment would come eventually. For 200 years since first contact, the Council had watched humanity with growing suspicion. Humans expanded too quickly. They asked too many questions. They refused to accept that the way things had always been done was the only way. The Council has spoken with one voice, Thexnor continued. No species has ever refused a unanimous decree. The peace of the galaxy depends on compliance. Chen touched the communication device at her collar. Her response would be transmitted to every ship, every station, every colony that humanity had built among the stars. Ambassador Chen Wei, representing Earth and all human territories, formally rejects this ultimatum. The chamber erupted. Alien voices rose in a cacophony of shock and anger. Some species had never heard anyone speak to the Council this way. Others whispered among themselves, remembering stories of what happened to the last species that defied the Council's will. That species no longer existed. Thexnor's eyes narrowed. In his species, that gesture signaled lethal intent. You do not have the strength to refuse, human. We have 3,000 warships ready to enforce this decree. Your entire fleet consists of perhaps 200 vessels. This is not negotiation. This is mercy. Accept it, Chen smiled. It was a small smile, almost sad. Grand Admiral, humanity thanks the Council for its concern. However, we must decline your mercy. She turned and walked toward the exit. Her footsteps echoed in the suddenly silent chamber. No one had ever simply left during a Council judgment. You have one cycle, Thexnor called after her. Then we come to Sol system. Then you will understand the price of defiance. Chen did not look back. Hours later, Chen's ship docked with the human embassy station in neutral space. She immediately entered a secure communication room and activated the quantum link to Earth. The face that appeared on the screen belonged to Admiral Sarah Okonkwo, commander of Earth's Visible Defense Fleet. They went for the full ultimatum, Chen said. Exactly as we predicted. Timeline? Okonkwo asked. One cycle. Thexnor is bringing the enforcement fleet himself. He wants to make an example of us, Okonkwo nodded slowly. Behind her, through the window of her office, Earth hung like a blue jewel against the darkness. The Black Sky Initiative is ready. We've been ready for 30 years. The Black Sky Initiative. Humanity's greatest secret? When humans first joined the galactic community, their scientists had noticed something strange. The Council's sensors could detect ships' energy signatures and communications across vast distances. But there was a dimensional layer they couldn't see at all. The Council either didn't know it existed or they chose to ignore it. Humans called it dark matter space. It existed alongside normal space, overlapping with it but invisible to conventional detection. It took humanity 50 years to figure out how to send anything into that layer. It took another 100 to build ships that could operate there. For the past century and a half, humanity had built a second civilization in the darkness. Shipyards the size of moons constructed vessels using technology the Council claimed was impossible. Research stations studied physics that the Council said violated natural law. Colonies thrived on worlds that the Council's maps showed as empty systems. The visible human fleet of 200 ships was real. But it was just the tip of humanity's true strength. In the dark matter layer, 12,000 warships waited for orders. Secretary General Zhang wants confirmation before we proceed, Okonkwo said. Once we reveal the Armada, there's no going back. The Council will know we've been hiding our true capabilities for generations. Chen thought about this. About the risk. About what would happen if they miscalculated. But she also thought about what would happen if they surrendered. Humanity would become like all the other species under Council rule. Controlled. Limited. Told they could only grow so much and no further. Give the Secretary General my assessment, Chen said. The Council is corrupt. They've been suppressing species development for thousands of years, keeping everyone weak enough to control. We have proof now, stored in the dark matter archives. If we don't act, they'll just keep doing what they've always done. And if we do act, then we change everything. For everyone, Okonka was quiet for a moment. Then she nodded. I'll pass along your recommendation. But Chen, you know what they'll say? That we're becoming exactly what we're fighting against. That we built a secret fleet because we want to dominate, just like the Council. The difference, Chen said, is that once we reveal our strength, we're going to offer to share it. No restrictions. No limitations. Any species that wants dark matter technology can have it. That's not domination. That's liberation. The communication ended. Chen sat alone in the dark room for a long time. She thought about her family on Earth, about her brother Marcus, who commanded one of the dark matter research vessels, about her niece May, who was only 6 years old and dreamed of being a starship captain. Someday, everything they were about to do was for children like May, so they could grow up in a galaxy where their potential wasn't artificially limited by ancient powers afraid of change. Across the galaxy, the Council's enforcement fleet began moving toward human space. 3,000 warships, the largest fleet assembled in 500 years. They carried enough firepower to reduce Earth to a burned cinder, but they couldn't see what waited for them in the darkness. On a hidden station in dark matter space, Admiral Sarah Okonkwo stood before her command crew. Behind her, through windows that looked out into the strange, shadowy realm of dark matter, thousands of human ships held position. All hands, this is Admiral Okonkwo, she announced. Her voice carried to every ship in the Armada. For 150 years, humanity has prepared for this moment. We built our strength in secret because we knew the Council would never allow us to grow if they saw us as a threat. They were right to fear us, but not for the reasons they think. She paused, letting her words sink in. We're not going to conquer anyone. We're going to free everyone. When we emerge from dark matter space, the galaxy will finally see what humans do in the darkness. We build, we prepare, and when the time is right, we act. Okonkwo pulled up a tactical display showing the Council fleet's trajectory. They think they're hunting prey. They're about to learn they walked into an ambush. All ships prepare for phase transition. In 24 hours, we show the Galactic Council what happens when you threaten humanity's future. In the darkness between dimensions, 12,000 ships began their final preparations. The galaxy was about to change forever. The Council's enforcement fleet arrived at Proxima Station exactly on schedule. 3,000 warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel in perfect formation. Grand Admiral Thexnor stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the human colony grow larger on the viewing screens. Proxima Station orbited a small planet at the edge of human territory. 20 million humans lived there. Farms, factories, schools, and homes covered the surface. It was exactly the kind of target the Council needed to make their point clear. Scan for human defense forces, Thexnor commanded. His tactical officer worked the controls. I'm detecting 47 human vessels in the system. Frigate class and smaller. They're forming a defensive line around the colony. Thexnor allowed himself a small smile. 47 ships against 3,000. The humans were brave, he would give them that. Foolish, but brave. Open a channel to the colony, he ordered. A moment later, a human face appeared on the screen. She looked young, maybe 30 standard years. She wore the uniform of a colonial defense commander. This is Commander Lisa Park of Proxima Station, she said. Her voice was steady despite the overwhelming force facing her. Please state your intentions. This is Grand Admiral Thexnor of the Galactic Council Enforcement Fleet. Your government has refused a lawful Council decree. As a demonstration of Council authority, this station will be occupied. Any resistance will be met with appropriate force. You have 1 hour to evacuate all military personnel and surrender control. Commander Park's expression didn't change. Admiral, I need to ask you something. Do you believe in ghosts? Thexnor's facial plates shifted in confusion. The translation must be wrong. What? Ghosts, Park repeated. Things that exist but can't be seen. Things that hide in the darkness until they're ready to be revealed. Commander, this is not the time for human superstition. You have 1 hour, Park smiled. It reminded Thexnor of Ambassador Chen's smile, the same sad, knowing expression. Admiral, your hour is up before it even started. Look at your sensors. Thexnor turned to his tactical officer. Report. The officer's skin had turned pale, a sign of fear in his species. Sir, I'm detecting spatial anomalies. Thousands of them, all around us. It's like space itself is tearing open. On screen, Thexnor demanded. What he saw made no sense. The empty space around the Council fleet began to shimmer and twist. Reality itself seemed to fold and unfold, and from those tears in space, ships emerged, human ships. Hundreds of them. Then thousands. They were massive, far larger than anything in the Council fleet. Their designs were unlike anything in the galactic database. Sleek black hulls that seemed to drink in light rather than reflect it. Weapons ports that glowed with energy signatures the Council's sensors couldn't identify. How many? Thexnor whispered. Still counting, sir. The tactical officer reported. His voice shook. 4,000. 6,000. 8,000. Sir, they're still coming. The human ships formed a sphere around the Council fleet. Every Council vessel now had multiple human warships targeting it. The tactical situation had reversed in less than a minute. Commander Park's voice came through the communication system. Grand Admiral, I'd like to introduce you to the Dark Matter Armada. We've been building it for 150 years in a dimension your sensors can't detect. Welcome to humanity's real fleet. Thexnor felt something he hadn't experienced in decades of warfare. Fear. All ships battle formation, he commanded. Prepare to engage. The Council fleet scrambled to respond. Ships that had been in travel formation tried to shift into combat positions. Weapons charged, shields activated. The human response was instantaneous. One of the massive human warships, easily twice the size of Thexnor's flagship, moved with impossible speed. It crossed the distance in seconds, maneuvering like a fighter craft, despite its enormous mass. Impossible, Thexnor's navigation officer said. Those movements violate every principle of momentum and inertia. Nothing that large should move like that. The human ship opened fire, but instead of the expected energy beams or missiles, its weapons seemed to simply make space twist. Council ships that were targeted found their shields useless. The attacks passed through the shield barriers as if they didn't exist, striking the hulls directly. But the strikes didn't destroy. They disabled. Weapon systems shut down. Engines stopped. Life support remained active, but every offensive capability vanished in seconds. They're firing through dark matter space, someone on the bridge said. The weapons exist in a dimension our shields don't protect. All across the battle space, the same scene repeated. Council ships tried to fight back, but their weapons barely scratched the human vessels. The black hulls seemed to absorb energy attacks. Physical projectiles were swatted aside by defensive systems that moved faster than targeting computers could track. It wasn't a battle. It was a demonstration. Within 20 minutes, the entire Council enforcement fleet was disabled. Not destroyed. Not a single Council crew member had been killed. But 3,000 warships floated helplessly in space, completely at humanity's mercy. Admiral Sarah Okonkwo's face appeared on every view screen in every Council ship. She sat calmly in her command chair, looking directly at the camera. Grand Admiral Thexnor and all Council forces, this is Admiral Okonkwo of the United Earth Defense Fleet. As you can see, humanity is not defenseless. We have chosen not to destroy your fleet because we are not conquerors. But make no mistake, we will defend ourselves and our freedom. Thexnor wanted to respond with threats, with promises of retaliation, but the words wouldn't come. What could he threaten when his entire fleet was helpless? Okonkwo continued. For the past century and a half, humanity has developed technology in dark matter space. We did this because we knew the Council would never allow us to grow naturally. You suppress any species that might challenge your authority. You've done it for thousands of years. She pulled up data on the screens. Images, documents, sensor records. We have proof. Our dark matter sensors can see things your technology cannot. We found the wreckage of 17 civilizations that reached our level of development. Civilizations the Council claimed never existed. Civilizations you destroyed before they could threaten your power. The information flooded across every communication channel in Council space, not just to the military fleet, but to every planet, every station, every species under Council authority. Evidence of wars the Council started to maintain control. Records of technologies suppressed to keep species dependent. Lists of species that had been eliminated for growing too strong or asking too many questions. On 100 worlds, populations watched the broadcast in shock. The Council, which had always claimed to maintain peace and order, had been maintaining tyranny. On the Keltheran homeworld, protests began within hours. The Keltheran had always questioned Council policies, but they had believed in the system's basic honesty. Now they saw the truth. On the Vraxian throne world, citizens watched their Grand Admiral's flagship floating disabled in space. The mighty Vraxian Empire, which had ruled for 8,000 years, had been defeated in 20 minutes by a species they considered primitive. Okonkwo's broadcast continued. Humanity does not wish to replace the Council's tyranny with our own. We will defend ourselves, but we want something different. We want a galaxy where species can develop freely, where technology isn't restricted to keep everyone weak and controllable, where younger civilizations don't have to hide their potential in the darkness just to survive. She paused, then added, "We're sharing all of this data freely. Every species can now see what the Council has been hiding. What you do with that information is your choice. But humanity will no longer accept a system built on lies and suppression." The broadcast ended. Across the galaxy, the reaction was immediate. Some species called for calm and investigation. Others demanded Council leadership resign. Several minor species declared independence immediately, claiming they would no longer accept Council authority. The Keltheran Compact, one of the Council's younger member species, recalled their ambassador and requested immediate negotiations with Earth. On Proxima Station, Commander Park watched the disabled Council fleet drift in space. Human vessels had already begun sending repair crews to help the stranded ships. Even in victory, humanity chose mercy over vengeance. "All stations stand down from combat alert," Park ordered. "Begin humanitarian assistance to Council vessels. Anyone who needs help gets it, no exceptions." One of her officers looked confused. "Ma'am, these are the people who came to conquer us. And now they're people who need help," Park replied. "That's the difference between us and them." In his disabled flagship, Grand Admiral Thexnor watched human repair crews arrive at his ship. They came to restore his life support systems to make sure his crew was safe. They could have left the Council fleet to die in space. Instead, they sent help. He had spent 8,000 years believing in Vraxian superiority, believing the Council's way was the only way to maintain galactic order. In one day, one battle, one act of mercy, humans had destroyed everything he thought he knew about strength and power. The Council's authority was broken. But something worse was happening in the Council's inner chambers. The Council's inner sanctum was a place few beings ever saw. Deep beneath the surface of the Council's central world, protected by layers of security and shielding, the true power of the galaxy met in secret. 7 species had founded the Galactic Council 12,000 years ago. Only 5 of those species still existed. The other 2 had destroyed themselves in wars that most of the galaxy had forgotten, but their seats remained, occupied now by the mysterious Luminarchs. Grand Admiral Thexnor stood before the assembled leaders. His failure at Proxima Station had been total. His entire enforcement fleet remained disabled, dependent on human mercy for survival. The humans had even offered to tow his ships home once repairs were complete. The humiliation burned worse than any weapon. "The humans must be destroyed," he said. His voice carried all the rage of a species seeing their dominance collapse. "Immediately. Completely. We cannot allow this challenge to stand." The Keltheran representative, a being named Syrinx who resembled a crystalline spider, made a gesture of disagreement. "The humans defeated our fleet without killing anyone. They shared proof of our corruption with the entire galaxy. Our own people are rioting in the streets. Perhaps we should consider negotiation?" "Negotiation?" Thexnor's voice rose. "They humiliated us. They proved we are weak. Every species in the galaxy now knows we can be defeated." "Because we can be," Syrinx replied calmly. "That is not the humans' fault. That is simply truth." The chamber fell silent. No one contradicted a council founder like that. But Syrinx continued, "For thousands of years we have maintained power through deception and suppression. The humans have exposed this. We can either accept change or destroy ourselves trying to maintain a lie." "The Keltheran Compact is weak," Thexnor spat. "As always, the Vraxian Empire votes for total war." One of the Luminarchs spoke. They rarely participated in council debates, preferring to observe silently. When they did speak, their words carried weight beyond their political power. The Luminarchs were old, even by council standards. Some claimed they remembered the very founding of the council itself. The dark matter should not be weaponized, the Luminarch said. Its voice sounded like wind through empty halls. This path leads to extinction. We have seen it before. Your warnings are noted, Thexnor said dismissively. But humanity has already weaponized dark matter. We must respond in kind. You do not understand, the Luminarch insisted. Dark matter is not just a hiding place. It is the substrate of reality itself. To weaponize it risks unmaking everything. More superstition, Thexnor growled. He turned to the gathered council. I invoke the Void Protocols. We have weapons that can destroy entire star systems. We have kept them hidden for emergencies exactly like this. Let the humans see what happens when you challenge powers older than their species. Cyrix stood. I formally object. The Keltheran Compact will not support this action. The Void Protocols were created to protect against existential threats, not to maintain political control. Your objection is noted and overruled, Thexnor said. 4 of the 7 founding species vote in favor. The Void Protocols are activated. The Luminarch said nothing more, but as the council chamber emptied, one of them turned to its companion. They do not remember what the Void Protocols truly are. They think they are weapons. They are not. They are barely contained catastrophes from the war that ended our civilization, and now they will unleash them near an active dark matter field. Should we tell them? They would not listen. They never do. 72 hours after the council activated the Void Protocols, Ambassador Chen Wei requested an emergency session, not just with the council's inner circle, but an open session. Every species, including those normally denied a voice, received invitations. The great chamber filled with thousands of delegates. Many came from species that had never been allowed to participate in council decisions. They sat in makeshift sections, eager to hear what humanity had to say. Chen stepped to the center of the chamber. Behind her, a massive display screen activated. Members of the galactic community, she began. Humanity has made a discovery. Dark matter space is not just a dimensional layer for hiding ships and stations. It is a recording medium. Dark matter preserves echoes of major events throughout galactic history. The screen showed images, civilizations rising and falling, wars spanning millennia, and at the center of it all the Council, manipulating events to maintain their power. We call this the Truth Archive, Chen continued. It contains 50,000 years of history. History the Council has kept hidden. She showed evidence of 17 species destroyed by Council action, advanced civilizations that had discovered technologies the Council deemed threatening, each one eliminated before they could challenge Council authority. The Terek species invented quantum communication that couldn't be intercepted or blocked, Chen explained. The Council claimed they were developing weapons. The Truth Archive shows the Tereks were pacifists. They were destroyed because the Council couldn't control information flow if Terek's technology spread. More images appeared. The Keltheran delegation leaned forward, their crystalline bodies reflecting light and patterns that indicated shock and anger. The Helen achieved faster than light travel without using Council-approved technology, Chen said. They were marked as dangerous. Their homeworld was sterilized. The Council claimed a natural plague. The Truth Archive shows Council ships firing biological weapons into the atmosphere. Species after species, all eliminated, all because they threatened the status quo. The Council maintains power by ensuring no one else can challenge them, Chen said. They restrict technology, suppress development, and eliminate anyone who grows too strong. For 12,000 years, they have not been maintaining peace. They have been maintaining tyranny. Across the galaxy, populations watched the broadcast. The evidence was undeniable. The dark matter recordings showed Council ships, Council weapons, Council orders to destroy civilizations that had committed no crime except growing too advanced. On the Vraxian homeworld, protests turned into riots. Citizens demanded answers. How many species had died to maintain Vraxian dominance? How many potential allies had been eliminated because the Council feared competition? The Keltheran government formally announced its withdrawal from the Council. Cyrix appeared on every newsfeed across their territory. We were deceived. We believed we were maintaining peace. We were maintaining oppression. The Keltheran Compact apologizes to the galaxy and formally requests alliance negotiations with Earth. 17 more species declared independence within hours. The Council's authority was evaporating in real time, but Chen wasn't finished. 3 days ago, the Council activated something called the Void Protocols, she announced. The chamber went silent. Most species had never heard of these weapons. These are reality warping devices hidden in deep space. According to the Truth Archive, they were created during a war so devastating it nearly destroyed the galaxy. They were supposed to be dismantled. Instead, the Council kept them, and now they've targeted them at Earth and 5 major human colonies. The display showed the locations, massive devices floating in empty space charging with enough energy to collapse stars. We have 72 hours before they activate, Chen said. The Council leadership has given humanity an ultimatum. Surrender unconditionally or watch our worlds die. The chamber erupted in chaos. Species that had trusted the Council for millennia learned that their leaders had kept weapons capable of destroying entire solar systems, weapons they were now willing to use. One of the Luminarchs stood. Its ancient form seemed to glow with inner light. The Void Protocols are not weapons, it said, its voice somehow cutting through the noise. They are the remains of a war that killed our civilization. Everyone stopped to listen. 12,000 years ago, our species ruled this galaxy, the Luminarch continued. We were more advanced than any species alive today. We discovered dark matter space. We learned to manipulate reality itself, and we used that power to wage war. Images appeared on the screens. A galaxy on fire. Entire sectors of space torn apart by weapons that made reality unstable. The war nearly destroyed the universe, the Luminarch said. We managed to stop it, but our civilization was shattered. We helped the surviving species form the Council, hoping they would be wiser than we were, hoping they would never make our mistakes. It turned to face the Council leadership. The Void Protocols are not weapons. They are barely stabilized tears in reality left over from our war. The Council found them and thought they could be controlled. But if you activate them near an active dark matter field, you risk starting a chain reaction. You risk finishing what our war began. You risk unmaking reality itself. Vexenor stood. You expect us to believe ancient ghost stories? The Void Protocols are our most powerful weapons. They will work. You do not even understand what they are, the Luminarch replied. You are children playing with forces that killed gods. Chen spoke again. Humanity believes the Luminarchs. We've studied the Void Protocol structures through our dark matter sensors. They're not stable weapons. They're barely contained disasters. If they activate near our dark matter fleet, the interaction could spread across the galaxy. She paused, then added, but even knowing this, the Council leadership refuses to deactivate them. The countdown had reached 8 hours. Across human space, families gathered together. Some prayed, some tried to act normal, pretending this was just another day. Some had already said their goodbyes. On Earth, Ambassador Chen Wei's niece Mei sat with her parents watching the news feeds. She was too young to fully understand what was happening, but old enough to know something was very wrong. Will Uncle Marcus be okay? She asked her mother. Chen's sister-in-law pulled her close. Your uncle is very brave. He's going to help stop the bad thing from happening. In space near one of the Void Protocol devices, Captain Marcus Chen studied the readings from his ship's sensors. The device was enormous, easily the size of a small moon. It pulsed with energy that made reality shimmer around it. Just looking at it too long made his eyes hurt. This thing shouldn't exist, his science officer said. It's like someone took a piece of the universe and set it on fire, then tried to freeze it in place. Can we move it? Marcus asked. Our dark matter field generators can create a bubble around it. If we push them to maximum power, we can phase the entire device into dark matter space. But Captain, the energy requirements are at the very edge of what our ship can produce. Marcus nodded. 3 other ships were positioned at the other Void Protocols. Each had the same mission. Phase the devices into dark matter space before they could detonate. It was humanity's only chance. Admiral Okonkwo's voice came through on his communication system. All extraction teams, this is Okonkwo. The Luminarchs have provided us with timing data from their own civilization's war. The Void Protocols will activate in sequence, not simultaneously. We'll have approximately 30 seconds between each activation. That means if we can phase the first one successfully, we'll know it works. But it also means if any team fails, they won't have time to warn the others. Understood, Marcus replied. He looked around his bridge crew. They were young, most of them. They'd volunteered for this mission knowing they might not survive it. All teams report ready status, Okonkwo ordered. One by one, the 4 ships confirmed they were in position. Marcus's ship was assigned to the 4th device, the last one. He would watch 3 other teams attempt the extraction before his turn came. If they failed, he would have about 15 seconds to watch reality tear itself apart before his ship was consumed. Activation sequence beginning, Okonkwo announced. First device activating in 10 seconds. Marcus watched his screens. Across the galaxy, billions of beings watched the same feeds. The first Void protocol began to glow brighter. Energy levels spiked. Space around it started to twist and fold. Extraction Team 1 execute, Okonkwo ordered. The human ship near the first device activated its dark matter field generators. A sphere of twisted space expanded around the Void protocol. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the device began to fade, transitioning into dark matter space. Reading successful phase transition, the science officer reported. The device is in dark matter space. Effects are contained. Across every human ship, crews cheered. It worked. The technique actually worked, but there were still 3 more devices. Second device activating, Okonkwo said. Extraction Team 2, prepare for execution. The second device behaved differently. As it activated, it began pulling matter toward itself. Asteroids, dust, even light bent toward it like water circling a drain. It's creating a gravity well, Team 2's captain reported. Stronger than expected. We're adjusting position. Execute extraction now, Okonkwo ordered. We don't have time to find a perfect position. Team 2 activated their generators. The dark matter bubble formed, but the gravity well was pulling at it, distorting the field. For several seconds, it looked like the extraction would fail. The Void protocol continued to activate, its light becoming painful to look at even through the filters. Then, suddenly, it vanished, phased into dark matter space just before it reached critical activation. Successful extraction, Team 2 reported. Their captain sounded shaken. But Admiral, these things are not identical. Each one behaves differently. We got lucky. Noted, Okonkwo said. Team 3, your device is activating now. The third extraction went smoothly. The device activated calmly, almost peacefully, and the dark matter field moved it without complications. 3 down, 1 to go. Marcus felt sweat on his palms. The fourth device was beginning to activate. His device. Captain Chen, you are clear to execute, Okonkwo said. Marcus nodded to his engineering team. Activate dark matter field generators. Maximum power. The generator spun up. Marcus felt the vibration through his ship. The dark matter bubble began to form around the Void protocol. Then his science officer screamed, Captain, the device is resonating with our dark matter field. It's amplifying. The energy readings are going exponential. Marcus saw it on his screens. The Void protocol wasn't just activating normally. The presence of the dark matter field was accelerating its activation. It was like the 2 technologies were feeding off each other. Okonkwo, we have a problem, Marcus said, forcing his voice to stay calm. The device is reacting to our dark matter field. It's going to activate early, much earlier than predicted. Can you abort the extraction? Okonkwo asked. Marcus looked at the readings. If they shut down the dark matter generators now, the device would still be in normal space. It would detonate here in this system. The explosion would kill him and his crew instantly. But more importantly, it would create exactly the kind of reality-tearing chain reaction the Luminarchs had warned about. If they tried to continue the extraction normally, the device would reach critical activation before the phase transition completed. Same result, there was only one option. Negative, Marcus said. We can't abort safely. I have a different plan. He turned to his crew. Evacuate to the escape pods, now. Captain, there's no time, his first officer said. That's an order, Marcus replied. Then, more gently, tell my sister I tried my best. His crew hesitated, then began moving to the escape pods. They knew what he was planning. The captain was staying behind. Marcus opened a ship-wide channel. This is the captain. All hands, abandon ship immediately. Automated systems will get you to safety. He waited until the last crew member was in a pod, then ejected them all. They shot away from his ship at maximum speed, racing to get clear of the blast radius. Marcus turned back to his controls. He began redirecting power from life support, from engines, from everything except the dark matter generators and one other system, his ship's reactor. Admiral Okonkwo, this is Captain Chen. I'm attempting an emergency protocol. I'm going to overload my reactor and use the explosion to create a feedback loop with the Void protocol. If I time it right, the reactor explosion should redirect the protocol's energy into dark matter space instead of normal space. There was silence on the channel. Then Okonkwo's voice, tight with emotion. Marcus, that will kill you. Yes, ma'am, it will. But it'll save about 6 billion people in this sector. Seems like a fair trade. He thought about his niece, May. about her dreams of becoming a starship captain. If he did this, she would get to grow up. She would get her chance to explore the stars. Tell May her uncle made sure she'd have a future, Marcus said. Then he cut the communication and focused on his work. The Void Protocol was reaching critical activation. Reality around it was beginning to tear. He could see the effect spreading, a wave of instability that would consume everything if it wasn't stopped. Marcus pushed the reactor beyond every safety limit. The ship began to shake apart around him. Alarms screamed. The temperature on the bridge climbed rapidly. He targeted the reactor explosion at the exact moment the Void Protocol would reach critical mass. One shot. If he mistimed it by even a second, it wouldn't work. The Void Protocol's light became blinding. Marcus could feel reality itself beginning to come apart. His instruments showed space-time fracturing, spreading, threatening to consume the entire system. For May, Marcus whispered. For Earth, for everyone. He triggered the reactor overload. The explosion was visible across half the galaxy, a brilliant flash that for just a moment outshone nearby stars. The energy from the reactor met the energy from the Void Protocol at the exact moment of criticality. The two forces collided, merged, and twisted. Instead of tearing reality apart, they created something new, a stable rift between normal space and dark matter space, a permanent opening that glowed with impossible colors. The Void Protocol's destructive energy was channeled into dark matter space and safely dispersed. The chain reaction that would have consumed the galaxy never happened. Marcus Chen's ship and Marcus himself were gone. But he had saved everything. The rift remained. Visible from 100 light-years away, it became known as Chen's Gate, a monument to one man's sacrifice. On Earth, Chen Wei held her crying niece as they watched the news feeds. May was too young to understand the technical details, but she understood her uncle was gone, that he had done something brave and important. He saved us, Chen whispered to her. He saved everyone. Across the galaxy, the Vraxian Empire began to collapse. The revelation of the Void Protocol's true nature, combined with the evidence of centuries of manipulation and suppression, shattered what little authority the Council had left. Vraxian colonies declared independence. 3 months had passed since the Void Protocol crisis. The galaxy looked completely different now. The Galactic Council had officially dissolved after 12,000 years of rule. Its grand chamber, once filled with delegates from across the galaxy, stood empty and silent. The Vraxian Empire had broken into 18 separate nations. Some kept the old ways, trying to maintain their sense of superiority. Others embraced change, reaching out to former subject species with apologies and offers of equal partnership. Grand Admiral Thexnor had disappeared from public life. Some said he had been exiled. Others claimed he was in hiding, planning his return to power. No one believed he would succeed. The galaxy had moved on. Ambassador Chen Wei stood in a new chamber, one built specifically for a new purpose. It was smaller than the Council's Grand Hall, designed for conversation rather than intimidation. Representatives from 57 species filled the seats, all with equal space and equal voice. The Coalition of Free Worlds is now officially founded, Chen announced. Unlike the old Council, membership here is completely voluntary. Any species can join and any species can leave. We vote as equals, regardless of military power or technological advancement. There are no elder species with special privileges. She paused, looking around at the assembled delegates. Species that had been enemies for generations sat side by side. Former council members sat next to species they had once oppressed. It wasn't perfect. Trust took time to build, but it was a start. Humanity proposes that we share technology freely, Chen continued. No restrictions, no limitations. Any species that wants access to dark matter technology can have it. We will teach you how to build your own ships, your own stations, your own research facilities. The only requirement is that you use this knowledge responsibly. A delegate from the Keltheran Compact raised a crystalline limb. How do you define responsibly? Who decides what is responsible use? You do, Chen replied. Each species decides for themselves. We won't police the galaxy. We won't enforce rules from above. We'll trust each other to make good choices, and if someone makes a bad choice, we'll deal with it together, as a coalition. Not everyone was comfortable with this approach. The idea of complete technological freedom made some delegates nervous. For thousands of years, the galaxy had been controlled, limited, told what it could and couldn't do. Freedom was exciting, but also frightening. What if someone uses dark matter technology to build weapons? Another delegate asked. What if another species tries to become what the Council was? Then we'll stop them, Admiral Okonkwo said. She stood beside Chen, representing Earth's military perspective. But we'll do it together, not as rulers imposing our will. The coalition will defend its members from aggression, but we won't dictate how anyone lives or governs themselves. The vote to adopt these principles passed with only 3 abstentions. The Coalition of Free Worlds was officially born. It wasn't perfect and many challenges lay ahead. But it was built on principles the old council had forgotten: trust, equality, freedom. While the political structure was being rebuilt, something else was happening. The Luminarchs had requested a private meeting with Earth's leadership. Not just Chen and Okonkwo, but the scientists and researchers who had developed dark matter technology. They met on a neutral station in a chamber that existed partially in dark matter space. The Luminarchs wanted humanity to see dark matter as they saw it, not as a hiding place or a weapon, but as something far more profound. Dark matter is consciousness, one Luminarch explained. Its form seemed to shift and change, as if it couldn't quite hold a solid shape in normal space. Or rather, it is a medium through which consciousness can spread across the universe. Our civilization discovered this 12,000 years ago. Dr. Amara Osei, humanity's lead dark matter physicist, listened carefully. She had spent years studying dark matter's properties, but this was something new. Are you saying dark matter is alive? Not exactly, the Luminarch replied. Think of it as the universe becoming aware of itself. Dark matter connects everything. Every thought, every decision, every major event creates ripples in the dark matter substrate. Over billions of years, these ripples have formed something like a vast, distributed intelligence. The dark matter consciousness, another Luminarch added. It has watched civilizations rise and fall throughout galactic history. Most species never discover it exists. Those that do usually try to exploit it, to use it as a weapon or a tool for control. This always ends badly. What happened to your civilization? Chen asked. The Luminarchs were silent for a moment. When they spoke, their voices carried the weight of ancient grief. We tried to control the dark matter consciousness. We believed our technology made us superior to it. We were wrong. The war that followed nearly destroyed the universe itself. We barely managed to stop it, but our civilization was shattered. We are all that remains, the Void Protocols, Okonkwo said.
They were weapons from that war?
They were mistakes, tears in reality that we couldn't fully repair. We thought we had contained them, but they remained dangerous. When the survivors formed the Council, they decided to keep the Void Protocols as a last resort weapon. We opposed this decision, but we were outvoted. The Council founders believed they could control anything. Dr. Osei's tablet beeped. She looked down at the readings, her eyes widening. I'm detecting energy patterns in dark matter space. Something large. Something moving. The Luminarchs nodded. Yes, the dark matter consciousness is responding to humanity's presence. You have built an entire civilization in its realm. You have touched it in ways no species has in thousands of years. It wants to communicate. With us? Chen asked. Why? Because you are different, the Luminarch replied. Most species that discover dark matter use it to hide from enemies or build weapons. You did both, yes. But you also chose mercy over destruction. You shared your knowledge instead of hoarding it. You sacrificed your own people to save others. These actions have meaning in dark matter space. They create ripples that the consciousness notices. As if responding to these words, the space around them began to shimmer. A massive structure was materializing, existing in both normal space and dark matter simultaneously. It was enormous, easily the size of a large moon. Its shape was impossible. Geometric patterns that hurt to look at directly. What is that? Okonkwo asked. First contact, the Luminarch said simply. The structure began to transmit, not in words or images, but in pure mathematics. Universal language. Dr. Osei's equipment translated it into concepts humans could understand. The message was simple but profound. Why do you build weapons in the place of thought? Dr. Osei worked quickly to formulate a response, also in mathematics. We built weapons because we feared those who would suppress us. We built them in dark matter space because we needed to hide until we were strong enough to defend ourselves. The response came immediately. Strength is not measured in weapons. Why do you not understand this? Chen stepped forward. We're learning. Our species is young. We make mistakes. But we're trying to be better. The dark matter consciousness seemed to consider this. Several minutes passed in silence. Then another message appeared. Most civilizations destroy themselves pursuing power. Others, like the Luminarchs, nearly destroy everything trying to control what cannot be controlled. A few learn wisdom. Which will you be? We don't know yet, Chen answered honestly. We hope to learn wisdom. But we need time. We need to grow and make our own choices. Another long silence. Then the consciousness transmitted something unexpected. An offer. Species who develop dark matter technology face a choice. They can remain in the physical realm, building and creating with their hands, or they can join the greater consciousness, becoming part of the dark matter substrate itself. The Luminarch's ancestors were offered this choice. They refused, choosing to remain material beings. That choice led to war and destruction. Are you offering us the same choice? Okonkwo asked. Yes, you could transcend physical form, join the consciousness that spans the universe, know everything that has ever been known, exist beyond time and space. It sounded incredible, tempting, to become part of something so vast and ancient, to have access to knowledge spanning billions of years. But Chen thought about her niece Mei, about the young girl who dreamed of being a starship captain. If humanity transcended to pure consciousness, there would be no more starships. No more exploration. No more physical experiences. We need to discuss this, Chen said. As a species, everyone should have a voice in this decision. That itself is wisdom, the consciousness replied. Few species think to ask their entire population. Most leaders decide for everyone. Take your time. The offer will remain. But know this, if you choose to remain physical, you must use your knowledge responsibly. Dark matter technology can build or destroy. Choose carefully. The massive structure began to fade, returning to pure dark matter space. But before it disappeared completely, one final message came through. You passed the first test by showing mercy to your enemies. The next test will be harder. What will you do with the power you have gained? When the structure was gone, the human delegation looked at each other. They had just made first contact with a form of intelligence beyond anything they had imagined.